Hello.
that we could have. I didn't even know we had the ability to unmute ourselves
Yeah, I just pressed the button and it works. So.
Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get started. We're actually streaming live on YouTube while we're doing this press conference so that we can get our fans to take part as well. So thanks to everyone for being here. I'm Cassie Batnich. I'm the Director of Communications at Minnesota RØKKR. I will just give you a quick rundown on how we're going to run the press conference today, just so everyone's on the same page. I'll keep media lines muted, but if you want to ask a question, go ahead and raise your hand or drop your name into chat. I'll let you know either when to unmute or when I've unmuted you so you can go ahead and ask your question. I'll do my best to keep questions in the order they're asked. And just please state your name and outlet affiliation before you ask your question, just so we're all tracking who's asking. And then, yeah, there should be time for multiple questions, but we'll start with one each and go from there. As I mentioned, we're streaming live on YouTube, so thanks to the fans who are tuning in. And we've actually asked fans to submit a couple of questions for the team as well. So as we're able to, with time-wise, we'll go ahead and ask a couple of fan questions of the team as well. So to start things off, I just want to introduce folks on the phone. From the RØKKR side, we have Brett Diamond, our COO, Brian, aka Saint, our head coach, Jake, aka Reppin, our assistant coach and lead analyst, and of course, Priestahh, Attach, Accuracy, and MajorManiak. So thanks again for being here. With that, I am going to go ahead and turn it over to Brett. He'll start us off with some comments, and then we'll go ahead into questions.
All right, thanks, Cassie. Thanks to everyone that's joined us for the press conference and all of the fans that are watching the live stream. I'll just have a couple comments at the top and then we can get into the questions. Really, yesterday was a big day for the organization. Couldn't be more excited to announce this roster for the second season. Our coaches, Brian and Jake, did a phenomenal job. Talking to the players, putting together a plan for free agency. And, really from the start, our goal was to put a roster together that can compete for a championship in 2021. And we couldn't feel more strongly that we've accomplished that with bringing these four guys together. So really, thanks to the coaches, thanks to everyone on the RØKKR staff that's contributed. It's been, this organization, a lot of what we've done organizationally has been with a focus on making this a team that players want to come to and want to play for. And having the chance to recruit these four guys to be a part of the roster for the second season was a big part of that. So we'll take your questions now. I'll let Cassie run the show here, but thanks to everybody that's joined us today. Cassie?
Let's start with Charlie over at ESTNN. Charlie, go ahead.
First of all, hi guys. Congratulations on the new roster, looking really strong going into next season. But I've got a question mainly for the two coaches, and I was wondering if you could elaborate and speak a bit more on your recruitment strategy for putting this team together. Sort of just why did you choose these four players out of the many free agents that were available going into next season?
Yeah, essentially with not extending our plus ones with anyone on our former roster, we had the ability to look at every single player that was on the market. Obviously, there were certain players that got their plus ones extended were kind of off the table. But with the players who were on the table and being shopped around, we kind of reached out to those players. And we went to them and we were like, who do you want to play with? We didn't want to throw together a team with a big mix of players that really had no interest in teaming with each other at all. So we went to players, and when players came to us, we would say, come back with, three other players that you want to team with. And kind of once we got a broad spectrum of all the potential teams out there, we kind of weighed out every option, and it just came down to this one being, without a doubt, the best in our mind. You have anything you'd like to add to that, Jake?
Nothing in particular. Really good question, Charlie. Like Brian said, like from a high level, it was first and foremost deciding if we want to extend any of our players. We opted against that, obviously. From that point, it was kind of trying to do some speculating and back into what players were not going to be extended from other franchises. At first, it kind of started as a guessing game, and then after doing further due diligence, we were kind of able to narrow down just who would be options. I think it became apparent that there was a world where we could get accuracy. We then, via deductive reasoning, came to the conclusion that if we could get accuracy, we could probably get attach. So that kind of was our primary starting point. And then after talking to those guys, it's kind of like, okay, who do we want to play with? MajorManiak was the obvious third there. And from that point, everyone was just kind of thinking, okay, how do we get Preston? So to walk you through kind of what was going through our mind at the time, I guess that's sort of the chronological order of how this team came to be.
Okay, we'll go to Emily Rand.
Hi, I'm Emily Rand. I'm from ESPN. This question can go to anyone, but the initial community reaction seems to have been that this team's going to be really, really good, really slow, and great at S&D. Do you agree with that initial assessment? And how do you, from what you've seen of Cold War, what do you feel like your team's play style is going to be?
Wants to answer? I can answer it. I think we're going to be obviously really good at S&D, but I think people are also like underestimating us in Respawn. Just one, because like everyone thinks we're going to be a slow team, but like it's not going to be hard for Dylan, Mike, or me to like speed up our pacing. Same with Lamar if he has to. But this is also a team that's going to like watch over VODs and like work hard and actually get really good at Respawn and kind of know the fundamentals of it. And I think people are underestimating our Respawn for the most part too.
I agree with them. I think that honestly, it's a good thing. I'm glad they are. I love when people do that.
100%.
Mike, I think you're muted. Like your mic might be muted. Your Astros themselves.
Nah.
You probably just have to change it in like the options on your WebEx. It probably has a different mic picked up. It probably has like your default PC, whatever.
Should I get my answer?
Yeah, go.
Just go to like switch audio.
So, yeah, a lot of people said that we're level-headed players and we'll be able to work well together. There won't be very many, if any, chemistry issues involved. So that's always a good thing to look forward to. Because, I mean, during the season, you're going to be around each other a lot. You're going to be scrimming every single day, practicing, trying to get better. And if you're bumping heads and things just aren't working out, it could just make it tougher to become better as a team. So I think us being all level-headed people is going to help a lot. Of course, our S&D is going to be good. We have a lot of really good S&D players on this team, and clutch players as well, which is something you really can't teach. It's just kind of like you just kind of have it or you don't. And when it comes to Respawn, all that is just working hard to learn and get better at it. We all have a lot of talent, so we're not too worried about that talent department. Just working hard to understand the game and how to rotate, how to play it. But we're all very smart, very disciplined players that can go off at any time. So I think it's just an all-around very solid team.
I agree. Do you guys hear me now?
Yeah,
we can hear you now.
I was gonna say what Preston was saying, mentioning how me, Dill, and him are very versatile in that aspect. I agree. I think people are really underestimating how versatile Dylan and especially Preston can be with a flex or a sub. And I think those play styles are going to mesh really well because we can figure out what the meta is and how we want to use it with our team. And with Lamar as being the main, we can just work around that, and it just gives us like that foundation. So.
Pierre, go ahead.
Hey guys, Pierre Nugent with Fox 9 here in Minneapolis. Welcome to town. I just wanted to, there's been a lot being made of, switching back to 4v4. It sounds, from what I've been hearing, it sounds like everybody's pretty happy with that decision as opposed to 5-on-5. Do you guys feel happy with that format switch, and how does it benefit your game?
Yeah. You can take it. I'll take it. Yeah,
you take it. Okay.
From a gameplay perspective, 4v4 is definitely a positive switch. The game just plays out a lot more smoothly. and there's a lot more room to be creative and just win off having really good teamwork opposed to just kind of headbutting and head bashing things as like a 5-man. And obviously 4v4 is a good change for the gameplay, but there's also negatives with it as well. Without having expansion teams this year, you're going to see a lot of players who were starters and substitutes last year not really be playing in the for any of the franchises. So you kind of have to take the good with the bad.
Gotcha. Question for Brett as well, real quick. I know since you have the facility, we toured it last year. It's a beautiful facility, and you guys haven't gotten a chance to use it as much as you would like because of COVID and stuff like that. Is there a plan in place for these guys to get a chance to go in and check it out? And will you be able to, is there a plan in the near future for everybody to kind of get back to work in the facility?
Well, we don't have any medical experts on the call, so I'll handle the non-medical part of the question. No, look, I mean, obviously we invested a lot of resources into building this facility, and there's nothing we want more than to have our staff and players coming in here every day. But that's not going to happen, in the immediate term. Our plan for this year, we're going to be more flexible on location during the pandemic for a number of reasons. Long term, post-pandemic, we're looking forward to welcoming the guys to Minnesota for the looking well ahead to the 2022 season. For 2021, we're not going to require the players to live in Minnesota. Both, we didn't think that was the right move during the situation that we find ourselves in, and two, to the extent that that online events may be part of the season next year, we want to make sure that players can live in a location that's most conducive to that competitive environment. So short term for 2021, no requirement to live in Minnesota. Long term, we'll look at it differently. But I think two of the guys, Mike and Preston, were in here during launch weekend and had a chance to, FaZe came by and scrimmed against our guys before the match. Dylan and Lamar, I don't think you guys came by, but if you did, let us know.
We didn't.
Yeah.
Very nice facility.
Okay, I'll go to Jack Marsh.
Question mainly for the players. Now that you've seen a couple of rosters start to form, such as FaZe, Huntsman, are you looking forward to one facing like your former teammates? And where do you find yourself like against competition? Do you think you're good enough to win it?
You always go into every season.
time.
Yeah, you go into every season super
Every
confident.
time.
We wouldn't be pros if we didn't have that confidence. If we thought other people could just beat us or walk over us or anything like that. So you don't get to this level without that level of confidence. But there's obviously other good teams forming, so we know that the level of competition this year is going to be insanely high. So we know what we're going to have to bring to the table to take them down.
Yeah, and I was going to say for the former teammate thing too, like I've always enjoyed playing former teammates, even like if it was from like a couple years ago, like even playing against Dylan or like whoever it was that I teamed with. It just makes it that much more fun because you kind of know like how they are and you've been around them. And I'm definitely excited to play against Atlanta again. It'll be fun.
Of course.
Yeah, there's nothing better than the competitive environment. And I mean, as far as like looking forward to playing former teammates, I'm more so looking forward to just playing the game and learning the game when it drops as a squad. And when we get to that point, we cross that bridge. So.
Sorry, just to add to that, is there a specific roster that you're most scared of like coming up against, or do you feel like you're just head and shoulders above everyone else?
To be honest, I mean, there's never like, maybe the wording of the question is different, but there's never a roster that like you're scared to play against. You're not like, oh man, I hope we don't play that team. Like, you take every team the same way, but obviously you could rate teams higher than others. But there's not a single team that like we'd be afraid of playing.
Thank you.
Charlie, any other questions?
No, that's everything from me. Thanks.
Go ahead, Pierre.
Just one more for you, Brett or Brian, or anyone who might be able to answer. I know that now you got your core four. Is there another roster spot on the way? How many roster spots total will there be for this year?
Yeah, we're required to have at least one substitute, but we don't need one signed until I think January 15th is the date. It's sometime around that time frame. So right now we're kind of just, weighing out our options, deciding if we want to go and lock up someone now or if we want to wait and see, who's performing well in the challenger side of things once the game releases.
Yeah, I'll just add to that. I think it's very interesting to watch the evolution of how, as a league, we approach the challengers system, and I think the league made a lot of good changes heading into season 2 for teams to really look ahead to what that future talent might be, and that's something that when you think about the parallels that exist between esports and traditional sports, that's one of the things that I think all of the teams are looking at how those ecosystems evolve, and the teams that are smart about how they involve themselves there will benefit from it, right? So we're certainly going to let the coaches do the scouting, right? I'm certainly not going to be picking players or anything like that. But just from a team and a league standpoint, it's very interesting to watch how the approach evolves over time.
Gotcha. And for any of the new guys, Dylan, Lamar, Michael, Preston, sorry, I jumped on a couple minutes late, so apologies if you were asked this already, but what was it about Minnesota when you looked at this team from afar, for being with different teams and looking at them from last year? What was it about this team and the people around this team that you felt was the right fit for you?
From afar, you could just see how much they cared and how hard they worked with everything they did. They had everyone that works at the company is really good, from the coaching staff to the people that are the editors and creating content, the videographers, photographers, and everyone up and down in the company. So it just seems like they really, truly care, and it makes it a lot easier to want to play somewhere when you see that they're working hard, they're putting time in, making the org and the team as comfortable as they can be, and do everything they can to make it the best organization out there.
Yeah, I agreed. To be honest, that's the way it looks. Like all the players on the outside during the last season knew that Minnesota as an organization was an amazing organization that took top-notch care of all their players. So on that end, it was a no-brainer to want to go somewhere that we know we'd be taken care of properly.
Yeah, I would say the same thing pretty much. I know even last year, I mean, I talked to Minnesota and they were definitely from the top of my list. And obviously I ended up going with Atlanta, but I always knew Minnesota, just from the things they say, and whoever I talk to on the organization, they just always say amazing things, and it just the amount of support they want to show to their players, and just everything involved in the organization just seems legit, and it seems like something you would want to play for. And I was just excited to have the opportunity again, and just have this team as well. Like they were saying, I mean, we're all hard workers on this team, and just looking from the outside in, this is a team that if we lose, we're not gonna just be defeated. We're gonna be able to bounce back and talk about it and go into the next tournament with the high head and regain pretty quickly. So I think all that just made me want to play for this team even more.
Yeah, and from an organizational standpoint, for me, it's at the top of my list of things I care about as a player. Being able to have a home where the organization cares for you and they take care of you as players, whatever you need. And then even at the beginning of last season, me and Preston and the rest of the Atlanta guys, we went to Minnesota and saw the facility. So where Brett is right now, being able to see that facility, it was super nice, and I could see their vision that they have. So seeing those things, and then having the players on this team, this roster now, and the mindsets I know that they have. I mean, I already have experience with Preston. All those things combined is really just the perfect storm.
Thanks, guys.
No problem.
You're welcome.
Jack, go ahead.
Hey, Jack again from GG Recon. I just have a quick question for those that have played the Black Ops Cold War alpha already. What are your initial thoughts on the next installment?
Yeah, so I think only me and Preston have played it so far out of everyone in here. I have really high expectations for the game. I think the game is going to slow down a lot from kind of what we see in the last few years, especially assuming they patch the slide cancel, which they said they have for the beta coming out in 2 or 3 weeks. So kind of getting a feel for the game again there, I think will kind of be a better gauge judgment. But as long as the map design is really good for the competitive maps, I think we're in for a really good year, because we already have 3 good game modes with hardpoint, control, and S&D. As long as the map design's good, I think everything else will kind of just fall into place.
Yeah, for me, like, my initial thoughts on it were just like, there's certain maps that had super vibrant colors, and I feel like we haven't had that. Like, we didn't have that really last year. So like, just the vibes of the maps were just fun to look at and fun to play, and just the gunplay just felt super smooth. And like you said, it will be slower of a gameplay, even if the slide cancel stayed in, it'll be slower than the past couple of years. But I think if anything, that benefits our team, and it all just felt it felt fun, it felt smooth, and I'm just excited to play the full game.
Oh, well, let me correct myself. Apparently there was just a tweet that the alpha is being released this Friday, so for everyone. So I guess I'm gonna play it again then.
Let's go.
I love that.
I need a code or something. Yeah, we need to get on that.
So I mean, I think it's gonna be like an open alpha based off what people are tweeting right now.
Hey, okay.
Ooh,
On
I
PS4,
like
it's only PS4.
A lot.
Yeah, I appreciate you answering the question.
I'm going to ask a fan question. Most of the fan questions we got were answered during the press conference. This is from John Carlson on Twitter. What do you guys think will be your best mode as a team, and why?
It's hard to say. I think S&D, like me for S&D has always been my favorite game mode. I just like as a player, as like just the aspects of how the game works or the game mode works. So I don't think S&D will really be that big of a problem for us. Well, I don't know. I think hardpoint is the most important game mode to be good at. It's 2 in a series, and it's first map of a series. I think working towards that would be the biggest thing. Yeah, I mean, I'm excited to see how it all unfolds. I mean, it's really hard to tell. Like, obviously none of us have scrimmed or anything like that. Kind of hard to say like what our best game mode would be. But yeah, I would probably say hardpoint or S&D.
Yeah, I think no matter what, you don't want to kind of be a one-trick team where you're really good at one game mode and kind of a bit more sub-tier in the other ones. I think it's really good to get a good balance for all 3 modes. You kind of want to have like ideally like a 60% win rate across, every single mode. If you're winning every single mode 60% of the time, you're going to be winning the vast majority of your series.
Thanks, guys. Okay, so I think we're done with the questions. Just Brett, anything in closing? Otherwise, we'll go ahead and let the folks go.
Yeah, I appreciate everyone taking the time to join us. And it was great to hear the comments from the players about the organization. Those are things that it's important to us to have a players first organization. And I want to take a moment to thank our ownership. The Will family has been incredibly supportive every step of the way, just like they do with the Vikings. They give us the resources to put a roster like this together and have a facility like this and really compete at the highest level. And our staff as well, for all the hard work that they've done over the course of the past year. A lot of the comments that these guys just made really reflects on the dedication that everyone that works for the organization has. It's funny. I'll just tell one quick story before we wrap. Early in the process, really right after champs, Brian, Jake, and I were talking about we're strategizing a bit about free agency. Yeah, and the question came up, as it often does: do we want to prioritize winning, or do we want to prioritize putting a roster together that can is going to be great in content and can make that a focus? And there was no question in our mind that the top priority was winning, and that there was zero question there. But we said at the time, hey, if we can put a roster together that will also be great at content, we'll take that, right? And I think we've got a great mix here with both. And I think we see that with these guys today and even yesterday with the announcement. So we're excited for the 2021 season, and great to have this team as a part of the Minnesota RØKKR family.
Thanks so much, everybody, for joining. Stay tuned to our socials for more off-season news and ways to engage, and we'll be in touch. Thanks so much.
Thank you.